Well, millions of Canadians went into this week with a fresh new set of New Year's resolutions in mind, and many of those have to do with relationships. So often the difference between a great year and a not so great year hinges on the way we relate to each other, socially, at work, within our families, and we've just the people to help us explore that further. Sharon Ramsey is an assistant director of Tyndale Counseling Services. Kimberly Moffat is a psychotherapist and relationship and life coach. Sharon and Kimberly, welcome to Context. Hello, thank you. Thanks for coming. Hi, Kimberly. Great to see you again. Okay, yes, so much of the year has to do with how we get along with each other. Kimberly, let's start with you on what is the toxicity that we're going to try and stay away from? How do we sabotage relationships? Let's start with family first.
Sure. Well, first of all, a resolution is kind of like a self-imposed decision to change our behavior. But we all know that changing our behavior is actually quite difficult. And it's especially difficult when we're not only changing our own behavior, but also we're trying to change the interaction with those around us. So there's not just one person involved, there are two people or multiple people. And so we all have toxic relationships in our lives, and it's important to be able to understand when to walk away from some of those relationships. And sometimes even those relationships can be with our family, and that's really sad when that happens. And there's things that we can do to try to establish whether these are toxic relationships and even decide, try to set boundaries with those people in our lives.
Yeah, and I should define toxic because what I'm trying to say is those things that sabotage, you're just trying to get along, you're trying to make things better. Sharon, when is it time to step away? Back off from the keyboard. But when is it time?
Well, I think of toxic really being about when the relationship ceases to be flexible or adaptable to the situation in front of you. So it's possible to have a very strong, what one might call a rigid relationship, but that rigidity might actually help face a challenge. And there are other times when the rigidity stops you from doing what you need to do. So for me, a toxic relationship is not able to negotiate when too much is too much and when enough is enough.
Okay. But sometimes I'm the toxic one, right?
Yes.
We're the ones that are doing stupid things that cause, your teenager to fly off the handle with you. Or, Kimberly, talk to me about controlling myself in the relationship explosion.
Okay, well, that's actually a wonderful question. And I think so much of our interaction with other people has to do with the boundaries that we set with those people and the way we control ourselves when things fly off the handle. So it's very important to be cognizant of, when things do go awry, what are you saying? And so, for example, it's important to stand your ground on the things that you want and not to let anybody push you over. That's a really common thing that I hear from some of my clients, that they want to start the new year very fresh, being able to stand their ground and have more of a backbone with family members. And so it's really important to know that you are getting what you want and need out of the relationships in your life, not to kind of walk away but with your tail between your legs, feeling like you wished you had said more.
Okay, so Sharon, now apply now the, that beautiful teaching of love one another that would come from the teachings of Jesus to that very tension that Kimberly just talked about. How do we work our spiritual life through that?
Well, I think it's really important that we think of things one step at a time and not great big leaps forward. So if I'm going to, let's say we're in a relationship and I'm the one who's really behaving in a toxic way. The first thing that I have to do is, as Jesus said, look at the log in my own eye as opposed to the little speck in yours. That I need to do some sort of inventory about what is it that I want, as Kimberly said. What is it that I think you can do for me to help me to get what I want? And how can I help you know what it is I'm asking for? Sometimes we're not very clear in our asks for what we want. We kind of want the other person to guess or somehow have some kind of inspiration and then do it perfectly. So it seems to me that if we can get very clear about what's important to us, not just our preferences, but the principles that we need, then we can actually communicate those and allow another person to respond to us.
Okay, spoiler alert, the resolutions aren't going to work. We're not going to be able to live up to it. So I want both of you to address this question. When we blow it, Kimberly, when we blow it, either at work, at home, how do we pick it up again?
Well, this is a wonderful question. And I think with any resolution, it's difficult to maintain unless you have a plan of action for yourself, setting yourself up for success. And most people, when they set a resolution, they set one goal, but they don't actually set objectives, which are like kind of tiny, precise, specific things that they want to achieve within that goal. So if they're kind of going at it like saying, I want to have better relationships this year, well, who doesn't? And if you don't have a strategy and a plan of action to do that, it's never going to happen. And inevitably, you're going to fall down. So my best advice is kind of enlist the help of somebody who can help. When you fall back down, whether it's a friend, a coach, a mentor, even a therapist,
I've lived by the rule that you need at least one conversation like that a week. You need one helpful, life-giving conversation a week. Maybe I'm a little high maintenance, but I think that's. But I want to get back to this, when a mistake has been made, when the person, Sharon, let's conclude with you on this one. When the person you're trying to be in relationship with, or yourself, has blown it again, where do you find the inner gift to be nice again?
That's where it's really hard, because if someone's blown it again, chances are I've had an investment in them not blowing it. So it's not just about being late, let's say, again for an important appointment, but it's you're late again with me. Are you late with other people? Probably not. It's just about me. And so I can get very, very focused about how it impacts me and not be able to extend any kind of grace to the person I'm in relationship with. So I think what we're trying to do by helping someone move forward and respond to us, be gracious to them when they've made a mistake, is to actually be able to say, that hurt. This is what I didn't like about it, rather than cold shoulder or not speaking to anybody at all, to really and truly speak with them about the incident. If the person isn't willing to hear, that's a different scenario. But if we've never raised it, how can you possibly repair it?
Both of you, thank you very much. This was excellent, and thank you so much for being with us. Well, now it's time to find out what you think. If you were to make a resolution, what area would it address? Would it be relationships? Would you focus on food and diet? Would you work on a technology resolution? So send your answers by phone, email, Facebook, or Twitter, and we'll have a vote on that in the audience and have those results in a moment. Coming up, more on the art of taking stock and how not to get lost in the New Year's resolution rush and despair.